Hello and welcome. We're going to talk today about artificial intelligence and specifically the new mechanisms called large language models, which are poised to begin reshaping the world of work. So today I'd like to welcome Wenjing Zhang, who is a Senior Director of Engineering here at LinkedIn, Rebecca Finlay from the Partnership on AI, and Annie McAfee from MIT. So we've talked about it many times over the years, but recently with the development of large language models, artificial intelligence is back, attracting billions of dollars of investment. It's actually changing the way people are thinking about the future in a way it's never really happened before. Wenjing, let's start with you. What types of artificial intelligence are actually out there that a user might encounter when they're doing their job?
There's so many. There's so many, and they're changing and evolving all the time. I'll just name a few. So more traditionally, there's recommender system, and the movie that Netflix recommended to you, the jobs that LinkedIn recommended to you, all backed by this recommender system powered by AI.
I'm amazed at how good my Spotify recommendations are these days. That's a different flavor of the same basic capability that AI has been demonstrating, which is the ability to tease out very, very subtle patterns from huge amounts of information. So across all the Spotify listeners, what does this guy want to listen to next? It's bizarrely good at that. To me, that's kind of the era that we've been living in for the past decade or so.
Rebecca, where are you encountering artificial intelligence in the workplace right now?
Well, it is pervasive in all aspects of our lives, whether it's in our work lives or our personal lives. So I think about just using Google search. I think about using Google Maps. So really, it is incumbent upon the individual, whether it's an early career worker who is just starting out or somebody who's looking to make a change in their profession, to really understand what are the choices they are making today about how they are using AI, both personally and professionally, and how that is going to change the work that they'll be doing throughout their career.
Do you think there's an easy way to identify when I'm interacting with an AI?
I kind of think the default rule should be if you're looking into a screen, if you're interacting in this digital environment, there's an AI somewhere in that
So it's
interaction.
everywhere.
It's pervasive.
Oh, got it.
It is like how you are interacting with internet and Wi-Fi. You don't pay attention to that anymore. It is like table stakes for you to navigate your life.
Got it. So one of the things that this brings up is a question around how this is going to impact my job and the things that I do out there. Because I can imagine easily that if search is as powerful as it is, there maybe once was a person who had a job which was doing research, and now I can do that all by myself.
One thing to keep in mind at the start is that every job that gets done in the economy is composed of a bunch of tasks. Call it 20 or 30 different tasks. Different ways of technology automate some of those tasks, and they augment others of those tasks. So think about what an accountant does for a living. And I don't actually know because I'm not an accountant, but they analyze a lot of numbers and they make recommendations, make sure rules are being followed, stuff like that. What they don't do anymore is a lot of arithmetic. They have a computer that does that all for them. Right. So it's weird. The computer used to be a job title for a human being. It was a person who sat around and did arithmetic all day. That job is gone. We just don't need people to do that. But the job of accountant is absolutely not gone at all. The number of people we need to be looking at all the numbers that happen in an economy and make judgments and make sure the rules are being followed, that's still a really important job. We need humans for that job. Those humans are not doing the task of arithmetic anymore.
So do you think we can give people an idea of what some of those tasks might actually be?
Sure. Yeah. Usually it's the more repetitive work. So using recruiters as an example, they often need to write customized message to candidates, and they reach out to so many candidates. It can be repetitive for them to do the same thing over and over again. And that is an opportunity for like LLM to come in to help them do the draft. And not only after the draft, after the draft goes out, when the candidate responds, there's follow-up message that they can continue to use LLM to help them with. They can help them schedule interviews, and they can help them even do first pass screening on millions of resumes and profiles, and that will make their work a lot more efficient, such that they can spend time on building relationship with the candidate, creating a better candidate experience, expanding their network, or even doing like strategic talent planning for them to do better job as recruiters.
So this is really interesting. So how do recruiters feel about that? Did they enjoy using the new capabilities?
I think so. We actually had an experiment that recently LinkedIn rolled out a few AI-powered product, and one of those is to help recruiter to draft up automated message. And we thought that recruiters are going to come in and just click send, like use the message and click send. Why not? But it turned out that for the first time when they use that message, they actually spend more time. They spend time looking through the message, do their edits, and then finally send it. But what's more interesting is after that first week, when they come back, they send messages much faster. So as a result, they were able to send a lot more message and get a lot more response, and with less time. And that productivity gain will allow them then like spend the time with candidates and do more strategic and human-centric kind of part of their work.
Can I give you an example of that?
Please.
I've had this weird phenomenon in recent years where when I go talk to my doctor about something that's going on, she spends a lot of time kind of going to me while she's typing on her keyboard. And she's not doing email, she's taking patient notes about the visit that's required for medical record systems these days. And as a result, I kind of feel like maybe she's fully paying attention and she's trying very hard, but she has this kind of clerk-like responsibility. Now, I read a story just a little while ago about how much better we can make things. This sounds like science fiction, but it's not. Right now, there are technologies available where you put your phone down and you talk to me as the patient. With permission, the conversation is being recorded. That's great. Then it's being transcribed, turned into text. That's better. Then it's being summarized and turned into a properly formatted patient note. That's really good. The doctor, of course, reviews those to make sure that they're accurate, but they estimated that doctors can spend at the end of a working day about 2 hours reviewing their patient notes and getting them ready for the system. They found that 2 hours could go down to 15 minutes with the process that I just described.
It's really exciting to hear that there are these new opportunities to be able to do more of the things you want to be able to do when you're working. Like, what are the other examples out there of good augmentation that workers are taking advantage of already?
Well, I think in listening to some of the examples that we've just talked a little bit about, one of the things that I think is fascinating about this moment is we don't know yet what the impacts are going to be across the job market. And I think it's really important for employers to think about how they actively engage employees in the conversation about how these new technologies can be used. One, so that all employees just feel so much better when they're engaged in making choices about how they are using new technologies. Two, we have to learn how to use these new technologies appropriately. And three, these technologies, as we've just said, are also evolving and adapting alongside us. So making sure that we're using them in ways that really drive worker well-being and satisfaction is crucially important.
So what are the ways in which we can begin to help answer that question of how we want AI to help us?
I think part of the answer is really simple. Just start using this technology. A lot of us are familiar typing words into a word processor or entering a formula into a spreadsheet. Every time you enter that formula, if you've done it correctly, it will give you the same answer. The generative AI is really not like that very much. If you type something that you want, or you speak it, and it gives you an answer. And if you ask it the exact same thing again, it will probably give you a slightly different version of a similar answer. And sometimes what it will tell you is weird. And you've got to learn how to talk with these systems. Talk, I think, is the right verb there. You're using your speech, you're using your language to tell it what you want, and it's going to try to give you something back, and maybe it's on target and maybe it's not. And then you iterate, you interact with these things. And with modern systems, you can kind of say, no, when I wanted a picture of a woman in a field in a red dress, I was thinking a little bit deeper shade of red. And it will do that. And if you say, I'd like it to look like an impressionist painting, it can do these things, but it does it in this very iterative style. And the best way to learn how to start using these things, just dive in, just start.
And can you talk a little bit about prompt engineering and what it actually is?
Well, it is essentially using a precise, clear language to communicate to an AI such that it can help you do things. So, and what's the beauty of it is it's natural language. Right. It's just like if you're talking to your friend and ask your friend to find you a book in a huge library, your friend probably don't know where to start. Right. But if you tell your friend that, hey, I'm looking for a mystery novel and I want a really good one published last year, and your friend will have the instruction and be able to do a good job to find you that good book. So it's the same thing with AI, that the more precise that you get, the more directive you get, you will get better result out of it.
This is a big difference in the history of human beings interacting with technology. Yes. We don't have to follow their rules precisely. They understand what this is, what this language thing is, which is inherently kind of a weird, imprecise thing.
Yeah. When you're getting started then, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to say, I will learn how to use the system, I'll learn a little bit about the language. Now let's talk about how you might apply it to a business problem.
So one of the great things about playing around with some of these systems is that you have this capacity both for wonder at what they're able to offer in terms of creativity, but I also hope we all have our critical thinking well engaged as well, because one thing we'll find is that they can often up ideas or solutions that are not accurate and not correct. And of course, they are getting much better. But, it used to be that in the early versions of ChatGPT, the most fun thing was to ask it to give you your bio. Because you would get back the most interesting, set of schools that you've attended and of jobs and positions, because it wasn't actually going out and giving you your bio. It was predicting based on a whole set of different things about what your bio could potentially be. So I always think it's important to understand, just enjoy it, have a great creative sense about the magic and wonder of it, and also appreciate that it is just computer system and software. And so we need to be absolutely attentive to thinking and questioning where it might be adding value and where it might be better to go out and get some solutions from other systems as well.
It makes sense. So what are the other kinds of things that these models do well that I might consider to take inspiration for people when they're thinking about how they would deploy it?
You can ask the ChatGPT, hey, I want to talk to my manager and convince them that this large language model is awesome. How should I start? That will give you ideas. So it's essentially not just helping augment us, but also it offers a tool for us to learn. And when I think about effective learning, there's two things that are most important. One is the reach of knowledge. The other is the fast feedback loop. And that's essentially what the LLM is really good at. It has the knowledge of the whole internet, and it gives you instant feedback. And when you need something, when you need to learn as a student, right? Currently, your access is books and teachers, but now you have this coach in your pocket. You can always talk to the coach. And to Rebecca's point, you need to trust and verify. You always need to have that lens, but at the same time, you get that convenience to access the world of knowledge.
This is a critical point. We now have super powerful knowledge management technologies. Alan, that's been kind of one of the holy grails of computer science for as long as there's been computer science. How do we take all this knowledge that we humans have and make it available to other humans via digital technology? Man, the results have been underwhelming so far. The results are now really, really good, because what this new category of AI does is it sits on top of all this massive body of text and documents and extracts knowledge from that. And then for me, this is the really key part, delivers it to you when you need it, when you ask for it. That honestly is close to this holy grail of knowledge management that we've had. We now have that system. We're about to get smarter very, very quickly. And if you don't participate, if you're not interested in getting smarter in that way, rethink that. It's easier than it looks.
Yep. So it sounds like one of the great things to take away from this, if you're just trying AI for the first time, you can walk up, you can try it out, you can talk back and forth with it, maybe have it create some pictures to learn how the prompts work and the kinds of ways in which you interact. And maybe those things will inspire you to actually think about ways you can use it at work. Let's talk a little bit about how employers would think about this. So Rebecca, as you've been talking to employers and the way they think about artificial intelligence, and I know it's early days, but how do they think about the kinds of things they would like to bring to the people who work for them?
I think so many employers are thinking about how you be an employer of choice, how you make sure that you are giving your employees not only a good and enjoyable work environment, but also a place where they can do their best work as well. I was so delighted when I used generative AI technologies to develop PowerPoint presentations because I have no desire to do PowerPoint presentations. And so there's just an example of something that employees often have to do to show their work, to report on their work in all sorts of different ways that takes them away from maybe doing the real substance of the work that they enjoy doing. So employers can think about how they drive technologies in partnership with employees. And I think that it's important for employers, while everyone is always looking for efficiency, really to think about very carefully when they are looking to AI technologies to drive efficiencies. Because that's when you can get into situations whereby you may be over-relying on the data and the use of AI for monitoring of employees, which we know can drive to employee dissatisfaction, or thinking about ways in which you are actually driving employees to do much more of repetitive tasks that make the systems work as opposed to their jobs work better.
How do we make sure that if I'm somebody where part of my job is being automated, that I actually do become better at a higher level? How do we make sure that happens?
It's a conversation that has to happen right at the executive C-suite level, right down through to managers and employees directly. If we are seeing what we think we are seeing with regard to this new technology and its capacity to truly have a significant impact on the overall labor market, then we need leadership in companies to be actively thinking about what are the benefits that this offers us, not only in terms of what the organization is currently doing, but what it could be doing in the future. And the important role that human workers make in thriving companies that are offering and doing good in the world. And so thinking about how you're deploying AI to really drive benefits to people and society, I think it's a core question that all company leaders now need to be attending to as they think about where we go next.
Yeah, I agree. What are the kinds of things that if you are a worker that you need to make sure you have to make sure you up-level?
I think it's critical to always have that adaptive learning mindset, that you're always adapting and always being informed about what the new technology is, what skill that I need, and act on it. I think that is the most critical thing.
One of my favorite studies that's been done so far in the era of generative AI watched what happened when a system went into a call center. So my colleagues got to watch what happened both before the system was in place and then once it went live. The first benefit was that things got better quickly, like a matter of weeks until the benefits started showing up, a matter of months until, on average, there was about a 15% productivity gain across all the people that worked in the call center. So 15% is a lot more than that. This is a big productivity jump. That's great. Second cool thing was that customers were happier. They did a sentiment analysis of how customers felt once the new system was in place, and they got happier. They used fewer swear words. There was less typing in all caps. Customers were getting their problems solved. That's good. So you made your customers happier. Here's the fun part. The productivity gains, the benefits were much bigger for the newest employees and the least skilled by measuring by their prior performance. In other words, if you're just walking into the job or if you haven't quite mastered it yet, this is where you're going to get the big benefits. This is where you're going to learn quickly, where your skills are going to be up-leveled. Again, this is knowledge management on the fly. So Alan, to your question of, as an employee, how should you participate in this? Man, ask for that amazing new knowledge management tool. Give me a tool that will help me do my job better, faster, and learn as I go. We now have that tool.
I think this is such a good point. And I think this is a really interesting piece. This particular result out of this survey, this particular piece of research is so crucially important because we're all thinking about economic inclusion and how we can widen and bring more people in more productive ways into the workforce. And to see that something like this technology being rolled out in this situation actually helped those who are less skilled, I think is a really important finding. And I think you're right. As an employee, we often think about what are those questions we ask as employees when we go through job interviews, when we're deciding if this is in fact the position that we want to take. We should be asking if those employers that we're looking at are thinking innovatively about new technologies and how new technologies are going to be helping workers to do their jobs most effectively.
What can we do to make sure that the benefits of these new technologies are going to get to everybody?
Such a great question. And I think I just saw a recent statistic that about 60% of the global labor market is in the informal economy. So those would be workers that are in the most precarious of positions. And when you look at that through the global south, it can be up to as much as 90% of workers are in that status as well. And so oftentimes, you're absolutely right. These are the group that are on the less positive end of technology. So in the AI world, we would see those being the individuals who are the labelers or the annotators or now doing some of the rating with regard to these large systems and otherwise. So I think it's incumbent upon companies, particularly those that are operating with a number of individuals who could be in precarious settings, to be better understanding how they both disclose their responsibility and therefore become an employer of choice, but also how they attend to the well-being of those individuals.
So throughout this conversation, we've talked a little bit about how all of us should be thinking about these technologies. Is there a way I can think about it which makes it easier for me to find places in my own work where I can deploy it? It's kind of like a mental model which describes how it works. So a good example of a mental model from today's internet is search. So we all use it to one extent or another, whether in our personal lives or at work. And it's just an important component. And so when we say search, we all know what we're talking about. So do we have that yet in the world of AI? You mentioned a coach in your pocket.
Yeah, it's a coach in your pocket. Yeah. Or it can be an AI assistant. It can be a mentor. And whenever you need that additional knowledge, whenever you are doing search, if you want the result to be richer and you want to be more iterative, you can go with AI.
But think how interesting that is, right? You simultaneously now have an assistant, someone who will do your bidding no matter how menial it is, a drudgery, or someone will go do that and they'll do a pretty good job of it. And at the same time, you have a mentor. You have a coach. Yeah. You have someone who has seen this before, who has amassed the knowledge, and who is willing to share it with you at the point in time that you need it. So when I think about where we are in this era of generative AI, I think that I've got this fleet of assistants, and as we get more experience with them, they're going to get better at handling my busy work and my drudge work. At the same time, I've got an army of coaches and mentors in the background where almost no matter what I want to get better at, someone is available to help me, give me the knowledge that I need at the point in time that I'm asking for it. How can you not get excited about that?
So all of us should think about this new technology as a sort of coach and assistant. Then maybe that puts it in the right place in your brain. So when you're thinking about, hey, how am I going to get this thing done at work today? Maybe asking a coach might be useful in some cases, and asking an assistant might be useful in other cases. So let's actually wrap up by talking about some of the recommendations we've made so that people can take maximum advantage of this opportunity while it's brand new.
Let me give one recommendation in two flavors. Get past the barriers and start doing it. I really do think you want to get involved in this new world of generative AI. So just fine, jump in, do it. Your first attempts might be weird. They might not give you what you want. You will learn quickly and you'll have some fun with this. The second one is at the organizational level. My exact same advice applies. You can easily come up with lots of reasons not to do it. Data privacy, IP issues, copyright issues. I saw a statistic, and a weird number of companies are now banning generative AI because they're worried about one risk or another. Okay, it's not that there are zero risks, but I believe the risks can be managed. And I believe that the companies that are more bold about getting out there, deploying the tool, helping their people, managing the knowledge of the organization with this technology, those are the ones that are going to get the benefits and get the learning quicker. And if somebody's learning faster than you, that's a really hard thing to catch up to.
Great. So the first piece of advice is get out there now, get past those, get past those barriers, get past your unfamiliarity with the tool, and try it out. Give it a shot. So that's number one. Rebecca.
Understand and diagnose when it's working really, really well and what it can really help you to do. And, try to figure out when it doesn't work so well. I mean, oftentimes I think when we see ourselves interacting with AI systems, I think that can make us fully appreciate what is unique about being human. And one of the things that we're trying to teach our students and to keep as part of our lifelong goal is to be critical thinkers and to continuously learn and be curious. So be curious, see when it works well, use it all those times that it does, and also don't become over-reliant on it. Understand when it's good, when it helps you, and understand when it doesn't. And that can be fun too.
Yeah.
I would say first, get over the fear of technology replacing us, because the technology augmenting human, replacing human has happened for a long time in the history. Just think the washer and dryer in our house that help us do our laundry. And then we save our time from doing those laundry and drudgery in the housework. And it's up to us how we use that time. We can use that time to spend with our friends and family. We can use that time to read books. We can use that time to get a new hobby. We can use that time to just lying on the couch. And it's up to us, and we're in control. So I would love to encourage everyone to learn and continuously learn and adapt to the new era.
Thank you, everybody. We hope you've gotten some recommendations, some knowledge, some inspiration to go out and try out large language models and artificial intelligence, which you can do today just by playing with the models that are already available to you all across the internet. Thank you, Annie McAfee. Thank you, Rebecca Finlay. Thank you, Wenjing Zhang, for joining us today.